Hey everyone, I thought I would do another little studio chat because I really enjoyed the last one that I did. So this is just to show you and chat a little bit about where I'm at right now, and basically I really feel like I'm back into the more purist watercolor painting stage. I've been doing some learning online and watching some really great videos from some fantastic artists on the Artist Network TV, and they have a subscription-based service where you pay $19 a month and you get access to more than 700 videos, they say, or something like that. I'm right now only interested in the watercolor ones, but there is so much there and I think it's really fantastic value. I mean, every single video usually costs at least that amount, and rightfully so. I think it's a very fair price, but if you get the subscription base, you can get so much out of it. So I used to subscribe and I learned a lot, and then I took a break, and now I'm back there and I'm really excited about it. So usually for me, when I'm in the learning, obsessing stage, somehow leads to more shopping. So I did decide to get this palette. This is from Porcelain, and this will, I think this will be kind of my main studio palette, and I just feel like I'm ready to go for a more limited color selection and do more mixing. I'm always going back and forth between just using a lot of colors and letting them mix on the paper itself, and I still mostly do that. But then I also really enjoy a more limited color palette and just exploring the ways of using it. And this kind of connects to a book that I've also read in the past and went back to again, which is this book, Color Choices by Stephen Quiller. And he's a fantastic artist. He paints in many different mediums, but he does a lot of, just to give you an example of his work. It's so beautiful. And he has a lot, basically the book focuses on color theory and different color schemes. It's a fantastic book, and yeah, it definitely pushes me. You know, when I read, I don't know, someone like Jean Haynes, then I'm all about the use all the beautiful colors and just, you know, don't think too much about color theory, even though I'm sure she does. And then when I get into a book like this, I'm all about the color theory. So I'm very easily influenced. But I read this book cover to cover. Now is probably already the second time. It is really great. It really focuses on color theory, so that's the subject. And Stephen Quiller has on the Artist Network TV, he has a series of videos which really really complement this book. So I've watched them in the past and I haven't watched them again this time around yet. I might go back to that, but I'm kind of a little bit more interested now in watching instructions on landscapes and more techniques on how to make your paintings more effective and more interesting, and yeah, a little bit less about color theory, because I feel like I've done that and I'm pretty comfortable with it now. But I read this book again. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it. So influenced by this, he has a limited color palette, even though it's a little bit annoying because he also uses a lot of colors. So even though he has here his limited palette, throughout the book there are many other colors that he uses also on his wheel, which I do think is a really great tool to have. But yeah, this doesn't help me with my addiction to have all the colors and, you know, collect watercolors. But yeah, so I'm gonna set this one. I actually don't want to just fill it. I want to slowly fill it as I paint. So that's why it's empty, and that's why these tubes are here. I'll definitely film it when I do start filling it, so don't worry, I'll share this with you. I shared this journal that I recently finished, and this made me also, it reminded me again how much I enjoy working on this type of paper. This is rough paper, and for my style of painting, which is very loose and fluid and colorful, this paper works wonders. And I can seriously say, you know, with many things I will tell you, even though I have them and I want all the stuff, you don't need them, but if you want a certain look in your watercolors, and if you want the colors to blend into each other in a certain way, the paper is so important. It can really make or break the look. And so this is the Khadi paper. It's rough paper, and for my kind of color use at this stage, this works really well. And finishing this journal reminded me that I really enjoy using this paper, and so I grabbed my ginormous Khadi journal. This one is the soft cover. I think it's cheaper. This is huge, so I can only imagine how much it would weigh if it had the hard cover. But so I do prefer this format. I don't know how easy it would be to move around and use if it was in such a large size. But so this is kind of very rough looking, I guess, and I guess it's kind of somewhere in the middle of using single sheets of paper and a journal, because this doesn't look like a proper sketchbook to me. So I don't know, but I do love the paper, and I do love the fact that it's just, you know, it's all bound, so it's just in one place. I prefer that to having like just lots of sheets of paper. That's just me. But anyway, I started this journal a long time ago, like probably a couple of years now, maybe less, but so there's quite a few pages here that I did. This one I did for this demo, and also this one is for my sketching flowers watercolor class, and then I haven't touched it for like a year or something. And then I kind of rediscovered it while I was watching those tutorials that I mentioned on the Artist Network TV. I was watching the tutorials, and then I was like, okay, I just want to paint. And I just started painting from my head, from my imagination, without a reference photo, trying out the different techniques that I saw people demo. And yeah, and this is where I really got into that whole autumn imaginary tree landscape thing. So this one's my favorite from the 4 that I just made in a couple of days. I was just playing around with color, and if you just see the way that the colors kind of flow into one another, that's a lot of it has to do with, you know, how wet your paper is and the pigment you add, but this also has to do a lot with the paper. And the rough paper, you know, the thick one, it just does wonders. And yeah, it could definitely be something that will give you a lot of frustration if you want to work with these techniques. You know, a lot of like wet and wet color transitions, and you're working on the wrong paper. So yeah, that's my lesson. And I just had, this was pure joy to make. And the colors here, so you can see the color scheme is a little bit different. Here I was playing around also with more turquoise, and I think here I really decided to focus on the yellows and oranges and these kind of maroon blue purple colors, and I love that color scheme, and then the splash of like gold green here. So this I want to frame it but I don't know if I might take it out of this book, because I really like how it turned out. And it's just, to me, when I look at it, I mean, I like the way it turned out, but it also reminds me of how much joy I had painting with it. So just speaking about paper, I was also working in this journal. This is the Stillman and Birn, which series is this? I can't remember which series this is, but this is the smooth, this is hot pressed, smooth, extra heavyweight, so it's really, really thick paper in the white. They also have ivory. And I got this journal also like probably a year ago, more than that, like probably, anyway, I've had it for a long time, and I started painting with it. It's just not the type of paper that works for me. You can see it's just the color behaves in a certain way on it that doesn't work for me. So I think it's excellent if you want like smoother paper, and that's where I enjoyed working with it. I added some of my printables and used very light washes, so not a lot of like blending or layering or anything like that. And for that, I really enjoyed working with it. So this was for Patreon using my printables, and for that it worked well, just for more like fast washes. And yeah, for that purpose, I enjoyed playing with it, and that's probably what I'll do with it, because for my the type of watercolor I'm passionate about, I need cold press paper at the very minimum, and probably rough paper. And also what I really, really enjoyed using here, you can see it a little bit, I was working very closely, you know, with my brush in one hand and then this sponge in the other, and it really helped me if my edges didn't look right. I used this. I also used this to get a little bit of texture to the trees, so you can see that like these areas here were made with the sponge. Also here, you do have to be careful so it doesn't look repetitive. You know, you can't just do this because that will look not natural. So you really have to kind of vary the way you hold it and stamp it and the colors and everything. But this was a really, I felt this was a big help for me. And yeah, I definitely want to do more of this type of coloring. So thank you for watching, and I will link to everything that I mention here that I can find links to. I will link it in the description box below. Some are affiliate links, so if you do use them and you shop, it doesn't cost you more. I get a small commission, which helps me out, so I really appreciate it. And yeah, let me know in the comments what are your favorites, what you're into at the moment. I would love to know. So thanks for watching. Bye.